Jesus said, "Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all." Gospel of Thomas, saying 2. I'm busy doing a series on the Gospel of Thomas, where I'm looking at all 114 sayings in Thomas. I'm doing a separate video on each one of the sayings. I started this series with a video where I explain how important the Gospel of Thomas is. I will leave a link in the description below if you want to have a look at that video. So in this video, we're going to look at saying 2. Saying 2 is a powerful saying. It's about going on this journey of discovery that will be life-changing. So let's delve into saying 2 and see what it is all about. In the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, we find similar ideas where Jesus says, "Seek and you will find." But there it almost looks easy and quick, right? In Thomas, we see that this journey of discovering the truth is not going to be easy. It's going to be disturbing, and it's going to be life-changing. It's going to be transformative. So let's have a look at that saying quickly again. Jesus said, "Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel and reign over all." Okay, so let's take the saying apart and look at it and see what it means. Let's look at the first part. Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. So the seeker should not relent. It's about pushing through. It's about keep on looking for the truth, even when what you discover is a bit disturbing. The truth is not handed down. The truth is something you discover. And you can only discover the truth if you are willing to ask the difficult questions. If you are willing to question things that other people will not even dare to question. I started this journey of discovering the truth long before I even heard of the Gospel of Thomas. I was a born-again Christian, and there were just some things in Christianity that didn't make sense to me, that bothered me a bit. There were some things that the pastor said in the church that I didn't like. There were things in the Bible that sometimes didn't really make sense to me. So what I did is I turned to the Bible for answers, and I started to really study the Bible. And what I discovered was that not everything in the Bible is the Word of God. Now, that discovery is disturbing, because believing that the Bible is the Word of God, that was like one of the pillars of my faith for many, many years, for decades. That helped me through so many difficult times in my life. So to get to a point where I suddenly now no longer believe that was very unsettling. It wasn't pleasant. Not just that, but that was just one of the first things that I discovered. I discovered a lot more. And what I did was I pushed through. I kept on looking for the truth. So I started studying the Bible even more, and I started reading books written by critical biblical scholars, and my view of the Bible started to change. That allowed me to start to look at the Bible with new eyes. It allowed me to start to look for the historical Jesus within the Bible, to see what he really taught, to strip away things that were added by later tradition and focus on the true teachings of Jesus. Once I did that, my faith started to change. My relationship with my father started to change. It became so much stronger, so much more intimate. It allowed me to have a whole new look at everything that I was taught as a child. And again, it wasn't easy. But once you move past that disturbing part, you will get to the amazing part, to the part where you start to marvel, where you discover that what you have now is so much better than what you had before. It's a bit like deconstructing. You go through this phase where you deconstruct your faith. Now, deconstructing is quite popular in social media now. And with when you watch a lot of these channels that talk about deconstruction, then a lot of those are people that ended up being atheists, that just couldn't believe anymore. But that doesn't need to be the case. When you deconstruct your religion, Christianity, what you believe, when you start to take it apart and you start to look at it critically, and you ask God for help to help you work through that process, you will discover that you will end up with something that is so much better. You will not end up with nothing. So in a way, it is about deconstructing, but it's about deconstructing and then constructing something that is more powerful, that is closer to the truth, closer to who Jesus really was, closer to who God really is. Let's have a look at the last part. And will reign over all. What does that mean? Now, we have to look at that in the context of everything else that Jesus said. So it was clear that Jesus does not want us to rule over one another. That's not what it's about. To reign over all means it's about self-sovereignty. It's about being free from the control of others, being free from the control of the church, free from the control of religion, free from even society and family that wants to try and tell you what you should and shouldn't believe and what a Christian should and shouldn't do. It's about getting to a point where it's like being the city on the hill that cannot be destroyed. Christians will come to you with their arguments and their Bible verses. But the thing is, you have done your part. You worked through that disturbing part. You've studied and you've researched and you looked for the truth. So your religion, not your religion, your faith will stand. It will be this city on a hill, this fortified city that cannot be taken down. That we'll get to in one of the latest sayings in Thomas. This saying, it's very fitting that it's in the beginning of Thomas, because we're now on the start of our journey where we're going to look at all the sayings in Thomas. My channel is not just about Thomas, it's also about looking at the Bible, taking a critical look at the Bible and looking for the historical Jesus. So it's this process or this journey where we look for the truth, where we look for what Jesus really taught. And like I say, in the beginning, it might be a bit disturbing. It might be unsettling. It will not be pleasant. But don't give up. Work through that disturbing part and you will start to marvel. Thank you for watching.